Tell me again how Wonder Woman 2017 is nothing to do with the Snyderverse. Hello, yes, I'm Mick, and welcome back to Movies TV Mad. You can follow me on X Twitter at Movies TV Mad, and on Instagram, MeanestMick7, and on TikTok, Mad Mickey's World. A very warm welcome to Friday's edition of the DC show. So Zack Snyder teasing the return of the Snyderverse again. He knows it's coming back, simple as that. But we're not talking about that. Maybe we'll have a little discussion about that near the end of the video. Today I want to talk about Mr. Matt Reeves. He's been posting so many GIFs confirming the cast of the Batman Part 2. So let's read out who's actually going to be in the Batman Part 2. Then I'm going to give you my exclusive. How WB, James Gunn, Safran and DC Studios tried to cancel the Batman 2. The true reason it had so many delays. So let's read out the cast. Here we are. The Batman 2's confirmed cast. Robert Pattinson as Batman. Sebastian Stan as Harvey Dent. Not fully confirmed, but pretty much is. Scarlett Johansson as Gilda Dent. Not fully confirmed. It pretty much is. Charles Dance as Christopher Dent. Not fully confirmed. Pretty confirmed, I think. Sebastian Koch as to be announced. Brian Tyree Henry, a great actor. As to be announced. Andy Serkis as Alfred. Colin Farrell as the Penguin. Jeffrey Wright as Jim Gordon. Jamie Lawson as Mayor Bella Real. And Jill Perez Abraham as Officer Martinez. But I can go, there's a few more, I think, that have been confirmed. So who have we got here? So we've got Brian Tyree Henry here, but I want to go into the screenshots a little bit and give you a few more casting details. Yes, Sebastian Koch has also been cast in the Batman Part 2. He played the villain in Die Hard 5, was it? Or whatever it was, if I remember rightly. Know very little about this actor. There are many, many fan-theories about who all these actors will be playing. My point is that Matt Reeves is on the passive-aggressive hype train for the Batman 2. This could be a great movie. This could be $1 billion movie. This could be the next The Dark Knight. This could be huge. Matt Reeves is a wonderful auteur, and there's been so many delays for this movie. I'm so excited for the multitude of GIFs he's been posting. He's never been this passive-aggressive over any of his movies before. Why is he pushing so hard? I think he's already shot some things. They're not meant to be going into shooting production for a while yet. But it's clear from what he's showing us, there's some things he's already working on. So this film is now happening. I don't think he's under any threat from Paramount like James Gunn is with Man of Tomorrow. You know my theory about that film, that they haven't started shooting yet. Gunn's just set up everything and waiting for permission to go. Will he get that permission? Only time will tell. By the way, the Paramount deal should go through by September. I'm hearing from Deadline. I think it will go through way before that. So it'd be very interesting. Is Man of Tomorrow being shot? Is he waiting for permission? I don't know. But I have my theories. And now, Access Media are actually exposing James Gunn's slate. James Gunn has delivered on 7 DCU announcements since Chapter 1 Gods and Monsters was unveiled in 2023, but 4 projects still remain in limbo. Brave and the Bold, The Authority, Waller, Swamp Thing. Basically, not fucking happening. We know that slate is a fucking facade. But we have heard some interesting things about lanterns. So here's a picture of Mr. John Stewart. Hardly the most, inspirational picture. You probably can't see that really well. That's John Stewart. And here is my mate. There you go. Hal Jordan, an old, tired Indiana Jones 5 kind of, older version of Hal Jordan. It's nice to see him with the ring at the very least. And we're also hearing more details that he was trained by Sinestro. I predict we will get flashbacks of a de-aged, version of this actor being trained by Sinestro. I have heard Sinestro will play a little role in the Lantern series. So anyway, Lanterns spans two timelines. The 2016 Rushville shooting and a 2026 mystery involving something else. Between those timelines, sit the events of last summer's Superman, which introduced Guy Gardner. Guy Gardner is also going to be in Lanterns. Lanterns finds Hal Jordan reluctantly mentioning John Stewart, a new Earth-based Lantern recruit who has become a source of tension. 2 months in, John is considered an anomaly as his recruitment marked a rare direct intervention by the Guardians of the Universe. Will we see the Guardians in this show? We're going to see a lot of Green Lantern lore being either told to us or within flashbacks, I predict. I predict this will be a good show. My argument is this should have been, we should have had an epic Green Lantern movie. The Green Lantern Corps has the potential and the rabbit hole basis to be an epic movie. And making it into a streaming show that's either prices the audience out of seeing it or there's lack of availability for HBO Max around the world to see it as a big problem. But I don't think it will be totally crap. I think there will be some current day narratives, but I don't think it's as bad as everyone is saying it's going to be. Anyway, let's go back to Matt Reeves and the Batman 2, because I can exclusively reveal to you right here and right now that WB and DC Studios have been trying to cancel the Batman 2. And that's why there's been so many delays. But why would they, Mick, want to cancel such, the first film was goated and brilliant. I agree. Some people don't like the movie. I loved it. And I'm not going to rewrite history about it. I love Matt Reeves. I think he's a great guy. And he has knowledge for Batman. Because Matt Reeves, along with Todd Phillips, was one of the two people that Zaslav went to before Gunn to be co-CEO of DC Studios. I'm being told they did not want to work with Peter Safran as co-CEO. So they turned Zaslav down. So why have they been trying for so many, for a while now? That's why there's been so many delays. Why they've been trying to fight Matt Reeves as the Batman 2. This is why he's coming out so passively, aggressively and pushing his movie. This is not typical of Matt Reeves. This is pre the shoot, by the way. That's interesting that he's confirming all the cast himself. This is not typical of what he was doing with the first movie. So why did they want to cancel it? They wanted Robert Pattinson's Batman to be part of the DCU. They wanted Robert Pattinson's Batman to be the DCU Batman. And this came from Gunn and Safran and Zaslav. Zaslav said a great number of times publicly, there will never be two Batmen. They only wanted one Batman. So that's what happened. There was a war here. There was a will of war here, where they were trying to pressure Reeves into giving them his universe, handing over his universe for the DCU, because they have this problem. They've inherited this Batman. So in their mind, we can't have two Batmen. I think there's a way, if you do it quite smartly, that you could have two Batmen. But Zaslav was like, we need to use this Batman. This Batman made 750 million. We don't have to do any creative work. We don't have to do an origin story. But you can't make Robert Pattinson's Batman the brave and the bold DCU Batman. Yeah, that's why Brave and the Bold was never a reality. From the moment they fake announced Andy Muschietti as the director, we all knew in our hearts that this film was never gonna happen. So they used a lot of immoral tactics to try and pressure Matt Reeves to hand over his universe to the DCU. And this is why Matt Reeves has had to bend the knee a little bit with some of these projects and work with them. He's a producer on Clayface and stuff like that. Clayface was meant to be part of the Batman universe, not James Gunn's DCU. So there's been a lot of infighting behind the scenes. But Matt Reeves stood strong, because when you've got your first film making 750 million just at the end of the COVID pandemic, you can fight for your movie. So this is the thing now. So Reeves won, because it was either going to be no Batman 2 and Robert Pattinson being part of the DCU, or basically either the Batman 2 was going to survive and go forward, or Brave and the Bold was going to survive and go forward. And the Batman 2 and Matt Reeves survived, because I don't understand how you make Robert Pattinson the DCU Batman. But this, my friends, is this is what they wanted to do at the end of the day. I've mentioned this to you before. This is what the delays were. Now, these are some of the questions that have been put to Gunn about the DCU Batman. Will Robert Pattinson's Batman be part of the DCU? It's not what Matt Reeves wants. He didn't reply saying it's not what we want, we're going to cast our own Batman. He says it's not what Matt Reeves wants. Translation: if Matt Reeves allowed these bastards to take his Batman, Robert Pattinson would have been their Batman. James Gunn, Safran and Zaslav wanted Robert Pattinson to be James Gunn's DCU Batman. That's why there's been so many delays for the Batman 2. We've heard some incredible rumours. How many times have we heard the Batman 2's been cancelled? We heard Grace Randolph saying that Matt Reeves was basically dying of some illness, without saying it in certain ways, right? Because she's smart. Was that true? Would Grace Randolph be so hideous to lie or to pull out a rumour without any proof or substance? Well, yeah, of course. But she could be right. But it doesn't look like it, does it? It doesn't look like Matt Reeves is dying. And Matt Reeves has never come out, because Matt Reeves isn't this type of guy. It's his bloody hell. If he is really that ill, then it's his business. It's nothing to do with us. But if that's a lie, that's disgusting. So there's been all this shit coming out. And a lot of people, now that Matt is promoting and passively aggressively, getting all this hype train going for the Batman 2, saying, oh yeah, how do all those people feel saying the Batman 2 was going to be cancelled? It almost was. There was a battle to cancel the Batman 2. So don't do your fake, amateur punditry saying it was never going to happen, because it was close to happening. WB wanted to cancel a movie with the potential of $1 billion fucking dollars. I've already mentioned The Lantern Show. A Green Lantern core movie has the potential of $1 billion to $2 billion. You could have a cinematic universe, as I say every day on this channel. They're fucking dumb. They don't seem to want to make money. What's got more potential for bigger box office? The sequel to the Batman, or Robert Pattinson playing Batman in Brave and the fucking Bold? How would that have worked? Would the DCU Robert Pattinson Batman be the same as the Batman? Would it be a different version to Batman? How would that even work? So this is what's been going on. And this is why Matt is being so passively aggressive with his promoting. Because don't be surprised if the DC Studios and the WB Pictures side of this are treating Matt Reeves like they did Zack Snyder and fighting him, doing anything to shoot down this movie. It'll be interesting how much WB Pictures promote this movie. Now, I think he does have supporters in Adby and DeLuca, because Adby and DeLuca are not that way inclined. They're not like Zaslav, they're not like Gunn and Safran. Don't forget what Safran tried to do to Adby and DeLuca. He was putting out there in the press that the early failures in the early days of co-CEOs of WB Pictures, the early failures of those movies was down to them when they never even greenlit those fucking movies. And then he had his mates at Variety and other places leaking that, that he, Safran, would replace Adrian DeLuca as CEO of WB Pictures. But then they had 7 #1 fucking movies in a row, and his evil fucking plan failed. So yeah, absolutely. The Batman 2 could have been cancelled if Matt Reeves wasn't so bright. So now he's fighting them with this passive, aggressive kind of, campaign. Think about it. As I said, even before he shot any celluloid for this fucking movie. Think about it. Doesn't normally happen like that. I know Gunn's posted some pictures from the set of Man of Tomorrow, but this is something else. This man's put up, 50 gifts in 2 fucking days? Think about it. It's a bit abnormal. I'm here for it. I love seeing him posting because he's a man with very few words, but I'm glad he's putting himself out there. And what he's doing here, he's fighting for his fucking movie. Like Zack fought to release the Snyder Cut. Matt Reeves and Zack Snyder are the best of friends. So if you want to see the Batman 2, if you want to fight for the strength of all Toz, fight for Matt Reeves, fight for Zack Snyder. The Batman 2 is happening, but these people will try anything to burn this movie to the ground now. Now, this is why Paramount have to come in and shutter DC Studios. And what will happen to Matt Reeves if the Batman 2 makes around $1 billion, or at least $850 to $1 billion? What's going to make more money, the Batman 2 or Man of Tomorrow? Well, let me think. You don't need to be a fucking box office mojo fucking expert, do you? Of course the Batman 2 is going to make fucking more money. Of course the Batman 2 is more anticipated than Man of fucking Tomorrow and Supergirl and even Clayface. We already fucking know that. So I'm here. I stand by the movie director auteur, Matt Reeves, because I can't wait to see this movie, and I'm enjoying all the gifs he's been posting. Now, let's go back to that wonderful picture of Zack Snyder as a soldier, as an extra in Wonder Woman 2017. It's interesting the kind of debate some Snyder fans come up with, because there's these hardcore Snyder fans that sometimes talk shit. I love you, wonderful, wholesome Snyder fans. Part of my many parts of my DC fandom is my appreciation for Zack Snyder and his 3 DC movies. But that's not just what's part of the Snyderverse. Wonder Woman 2017 is absolutely part of the Snyderverse. He co-wrote the story with screenwriter Alan fucking Heinberg. Zack's the one who brought in Alan Heinberg. Zack's the one who cast fucking Gal Gadot. Yeah? Now, Patty Jenkins did some interesting things. She brought in Chris Pine, who was vital to that picture, but she reworked the 3rd act, apparently. Or was it the studio? She says she hates the 3rd act, by the way, so maybe that was the studio. But just because the 3rd act wasn't Zack's, it doesn't mean Wonder Woman 2017 is not part of the Snyderverse. Of course it's part of the fucking Snyderverse. Who do you think shot those fucking beautiful action sequences? Yeah? Of the Great War. Who do you think did all of that? Do you think that film would have looked as great without Zack and his fucking crew? She did Wonder Woman 84. She couldn't even shoot fucking action. There was only like a couple of action sequences that was shot. As soon as we saw her working without Zack Snyder, we saw that she's not a very good blockbuster director. She's people say, what about Monster? What about Monster? Yeah, she's an okay independent film director. She could film some, episodes of Game of Thrones. But that's it. She was not Zack's choice to direct this fucking movie. I forgot the lady's name, but there was and then there's the whole Crimean War aspect of Wonder Woman 2017. It was supposed to be set, or elements of it were supposed to be set in the Crimean War. As I said to Zack in his comments on Instagram the other day, when he posted a picture of Gal in the Crimean War, I said, give me that fucking Wonder Woman movie, please, Zack. I didn't swear, of course. But, yeah, So please don't tell me that Wonder Woman 2017 has nothing to do with the Snyderverse or Zack Snyder. Because most of that film is absolutely building up Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman. And there's themes from Wonder Woman 2017 used in Zack Snyder's Justice League Snyder Cut for sure. Yeah, and the way Themyscira looks is down to Zack. Yes, they brightened the colour palette of that movie. That was not something Zack wanted, but that's what they wanted, yeah, because of the complaints of Man of Steel and BVS, blah-de fucking blah. But Zack can take great credit for Wonder Woman 2017. Without his involvement, that movie would have been fucking shite. So please don't fucking tell me that Wonder Woman 2017 has nothing to do with the Snyderverse. And doesn't he look fucking amazing? Brilliant, yeah. He looks the business, doesn't he? I can't even remember what part of the movie he's in, but yeah, he looks brilliant there. He knows. Look, he even set this picture up, right? He's the boss. Let's be clear. He's the fucking boss on the Wonder Woman 2017 movie. Let's be absolutely clear about that. So don't give me your propaganda about Wonder Woman 2017 being nothing to do with the Snyderverse. Man of Steel is Snyderverse, obviously. BVS is Snyderverse, obviously. Suicide Squad, the Air cut, is Snyderverse. Yeah, Ayer directed it and wrote it. It's his vision. Who do you think employed David Ayer to make that movie? Zack fucking Snyder, part of the Snyderverse. Wonder Woman 2017, absolutely part of the Snyderverse. The Crimean War version of that film would have been more part of the Snyderverse, but don't start fucking telling me it's nothing to do with the Snyderverse, yeah? And Zack Snyder's Justice League, part of the Snyderverse, obviously. People just have these takes, right? Look, these are purists who want to tell you only the 3 films are part of the Snyderverse. But I don't agree with that. Wonder Woman 2017 without Zack, if you say Wonder Woman 2017 is nothing to do with the Snyderverse, you take Zack out of that equation, and that's wrong. You know, on the credits it says Wonder Woman directed by Patty Jenkins. She was more like a second unit fucking director. She had a lot of say on elements of the movie. I think the things that she brought in was I think what she did well was the love story between Steve Trevor and Wonder Woman. I think you give her credit for that. But how it looked, the choreography, the No Man's Land sequence, you see that No Man's Land sequence, as I've said so many times, it's shot like Snyder shoots stuff. She didn't shoot that. She wouldn't have never been able to shoot that fucking scene. She doesn't have the tools in her director's armory to shoot a scene like that. That's Zack Snyder's sequence. We all know that No Man's Land is Zack Snyder's sequence, but she took credit. We're always hearing from third wave feminists that men are taking credit for women's work. Well, in this instant, a woman took credit for a man's work. Absolutely, it should say directed by Patty Jenkins and Zack Snyder. That should be the credit. Nobody corrects me on this ever from the industry, from this production, because they know I'm fucking right, because they know that Mick always fucking knows. I know. Why is this important so many years later? Because there's people still saying, yeah, it's nothing to do with the Snyderverse. Without Snyder, as I say, that film is a load of shite. Let's not mess about here. So that's the point I'm making. I tell you truths that you didn't know. That film has got a lot to do with Zack Snyder. Zack Snyder is a huge Wonder Woman fan. He cast her wonderfully. He taught Gal how to be an actress wonderfully. When Gal isn't working with Zack Snyder, when Gal isn't directed by Zack Snyder, let's just say, you see that she's not a great actress. Yeah? But Zack knew how to hide her weaknesses. I mean, as soon as she was cast as the evil queen in Snow White, I said, oh my God, I feel sorry for the poor woman because she's going to look terrible. She's awful at the songs. She's awful at the choreography because she wasn't directed to her strengths. Because the reality is, anyone under a competent director can look like a competent actor. No, you're not look. No one can make you look like Bob De Niro or Al Pacino or William Shakespeare or Marlon Brando, but they can make you competent. And Zack Snyder's such a great director. This proves his greatness as a director. It proves the haters wrong who say Snyder sucks as a director. If you can make Gal Gadot look like a competent actress, you must be one hell of a great director of actors. Oh, he's only good at the visuals. He's a visual director. He is. But ask any actor who's ever fucking directed him. You know, what's his name? Jesse Eisenberg, who played Lex. Whether you like that Lex Luthor in BVS or not, the performance is wonderful. A, because Jesse Eisenberg is one of the great actors of his generation, and because Zack Snyder is not just a visual director, he's a great director of actors, just like Dick Donner was himself. So saying he's just a visual director takes something away. Because like Donner, Zack Snyder is a people person. He gets on with people. He had real fucking soldiers on the set of the Smallville, the Battle of Smallville on Man of Steel. And every member of the armed forces said, Zack respects us. He's been good to us. He respects the members of the armed forces. He's a great Snyder like Donner. Donner was a great people person. People loved being directed by Donner because he brought the best from them. He had a great sense of humour on the set, just like Zack Snyder has himself. I don't know why Zack Snyder has been labelled this terrible director. I don't understand it. I've never heard one good reason. If someone said to me, well, Zack can't do it, look, every director and actor and artist has their artistic weaknesses. I accept that. I don't think Zack's the greatest of writers. I'd rather him direct than write and direct a movie. I admit that. But this propaganda that he's this terrible director, and these accusations come from people who have got 1 million subscribers on YouTube. How can you sit there and lie to your audience that Snyder sucks, that Snyder is a terrible director, when there's evidence to the contrary, that he's a great director. He's one of the great directors of our time. And he's a much better director and more capable director than James Gunn. But I'm probably a more capable director than Mr. James Gunn. Let's be honest, and I've probably got more variety to my directing than he has. But there you go. He has Hollywood DNA. He has the connections. Yeah. And I can't, at the end of the day, I've said so many fucking things, negative things about Hollywood. I'm never getting back in there. Yeah, no matter who my dad was and stuff like that. I'm honest. My straightforwardness and honesty gets me in fucking trouble. I'm getting in a lot of trouble as an Anglo-Greek Cypriot criticising Christopher Nolan, a man that I love and respect as a director. But I will criticise him for The Odyssey as a Greek fucking Cypriot. And they're all coming after me on X. And that, my friends, is not about identity politics or right versus left. It's about Greeks versus these fucking lunatics in Hollywood. New Hollywood, extreme left Hollywood. But we're not here to talk about that. My point is I'm not scared of anyone. I will speak my fucking point. That's the good thing about this platform. It's honest, right? It's pretty much uncut. I press pause now and again, right? But I don't cut. I've been speaking now since I came back from the pause I did, yeah? So I could find something on my phone for about 20 fucking minutes without taking a fucking breath. Apart from live videos, find me a YouTuber that does that, and that's honesty. So don't start fucking telling me that Zack Snyder sucks, that Zack Snyder's a terrible director, when he's made the great movies. You can't say, well, 300's a great movie, then call him a terrible director, yeah? Then there's Watchmen. Whether you think he's accurate to the comics or not, he made a great fucking movie. And his DC trilogy of movies are fantastic. There's things that can be criticised about Rebel Moon and Army of the Dead. I get it. But I think his diehard fans will, defend Rebel Moon to the grave, and understandably so. It's like Christopher Nolan's die-hard fans defending him at the moment. I'm not a die-hard Nolan fan. I'm a respecter and admirer of him because he didn't go to film school. He does things from the heart. He's got his way of making movies. But just because he's Christopher Nolan, just because you're good at something doesn't mean you're always fucking right.